as you may know, gaming in the current generation is horrific and quite frightening to say the least. Something that was supposed to be a hobby or just a pastime for people to escape reality has now become a luxury that greedy corporations now use to milk you out of your last bottom dollar for either microtransactions, the games you play, battle passes, and now the hardware itself. Now with all of that in mind, if you're thinking of putting your money back into something that you will actually enjoy, in my humble opinion, retro gaming is the way to go. However, I must preference that this path has also been insanely corrupted and it's starting to decay now thanks to the mass eradication happening to physical media all around the globe, destroying any type of control that you, the customer, have on the media that you own. It's gotten to a point where buying used retro games and consoles is such an inflated experience that playing games of the past that resonated with so many people can't even be played today because companies either report it with issues that were not present before, or they remake or remaster a game and then they start adding a bunch of stuff that people either did or did not want. And personally, if Sega refuses to port the Dark Era games to modern hardware, I must find some way to play them that's sustainable for me. And that's where emulation comes into play. FBI, open up! Yes. Emulation. The thing that if you mention on YouTube without tiptoeing your vocabulary will get you smited. And judging by how you clicked on a video discussing this topic, it does not take rocket science to see how far it's come over the last few years. I mean, for crying out loud, we have people who are preparing to emulate GTA 6 with the newly announced PS5 emulator. Jeez guys, I know we're hungry, but let's wait until we have more powerful devices that could actually handle that emulator. Despite YouTube completely destroying some of my older videos regarding emulation, especially on my phone, it's a whole different ballpark compared to what it was before COVID. And before I get jumped, emulation requires you to own legal copies of games that you own to be able to add them onto your phone, PC, whatever you'd like. Which in other words means don't go to the piracy subreddit mega thread, scroll down to the games category, and find safe alternatives to obtaining the games and files you may need for your desired product or game console. That is not what I'm saying at all. However, this does bring me to my next point on what people may struggle with when it comes to emulation. Picture this, you want to get into retro gaming, but you don't have the money to pay for secondhand consoles or games that are practically in their young adult years. So you settle for emulation to save some bucks and play your existing collection. You start out by watching all the set of videos on the emulators that you want to play, you compile all your games on a curated flash drive or micro SD card, and then you decide whether you will emulate on your computer, phone, existing console, or the most popular option as of right now, a dedicated retro handheld. Now these come in all shapes and sizes, and the most popular one as of right now is the AYN Thor, thanks to its dual screen capabilities and its good specs. Now let's say maybe you're like me, who wants to be different and prefers single, smaller screen. So maybe you get yourself like an anbernic device, maybe a retroid, possibly a singular screen AYN device, or maybe a PAL Kitty, or you can just get a Steam Deck. We're not judging. You could even get one of those bootleg X games in one devices that you see on TikTok Shop or your local Walmart. Yeah, those things could work too, just the process. Once you have your handheld of choice, this is where the real fun begins. Installing custom firmware or a front end, depends on what device you're using, and start customizing it to your heart's content until your device looks perfect. Once you have everything you wanted from your setup, then that's when you ask yourself, what's next? Of course, the obvious answer would be to start playing your games, but then the next question is, what games should you be playing? This is what I like to call choice paralysis, which I see as an overabundance of choices that may overwhelm somebody, that makes it hard for them to decide on something. This occurs in a lot of things that we do in our life, not just in gaming. This could be in Netflix, choosing what to eat for dinner, or picking up a book or a song to listen to in the moment. This may lead to you dabbling into a game, booting up the first level, and then you never open that game again. Or if you're one of those influencers online, you would flaunt about having the newest retro handheld, post a picture of you on the home menu or starting area of a popular game, then compare it to original hardware just to get a rise out of people, and then proceed to throw your handheld in the trash and then go back to original hardware. No shade though. It's people like the latter who make it hard to believe that people who emulate games or use retro handhelds actually play the games that they claim to emulate on the said hardware. We get so overwhelmed by the number of choices we may have that we can't settle for just one thing and must try them all. In addition, there is one thing I think people keep overlooking with these kinds of devices to begin with, and that is tinkering. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned how emulation is rapidly evolving for all types of consoles and that it's super easy to start on any device nowadays. However, when it comes to retro handhelds, I feel that's not what these devices were only built for. And whatever you end up paying for, 90% of the time, you are given a blank slate or you're given a bougie template that you need to reset up from scratch. You must find your own games. You must install your own apps. You must find your own aesthetic and groove to make the device feel like your own. I've been lurking in that SBC gaming Reddit, and what I felt was overwhelming when jumping into this rabbit hole. It's actually pretty fun. If you're into the whole customization aspect of things, tinkering can be a really fun thing with these devices. And whenever I see someone getting berated for simply showing off their tinkering with these retro handhelds, loudest offender here being the AYN Thor users, I feel it's disingenuous, but also pretty funny how many people like to bash on the Thor and call it a LARPing device. All because they see someone post on Twitter when their device arrives, or the amount of time it took to, customize it, load it up with games, all that stuff that's basically gonna last them a lifetime once it's all set up. Or when you throw it away and then buy an entirely new retro handheld and repeat the process. Yeah, this rabbit hole goes deep. And some purists just hate fun. I don't know what you want me to say. It's like the resurgence of modded 3DSs that you see on Pinterest and Instagram, except I don't see Thor users plastering stickers on every part of their device that's not just the clear case, practically turning it into a fashionable paperweight. Now that would be considered LARPing in my book, especially if they show a library of games that looked untouched and they only match the aesthetic of the color scheme that the person is using. Sorry, hypocritical side tangent aside. And as for the people who show the main menu or the first level of a game, you don't know if that person is either testing a game to see if it actually works on their device, or if they're showing them officially starting the game. Or, like I mentioned before, you could be one of those people that just be like, oh yeah, this game works better on this small device, so there's no need to buy a flagship console anymore. Ha 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 ha, take that, big greedy corporation. Listen, you're not a fan, you just want a company to burn. You know who you are. And yet with me saying all of this, I have just one thing to say to anybody on whatever side you are on when it comes to handheld gaming. It's your console. It's your property. Your money that you invested in a said product. So no one, and I mean no one, should care what you do with your money and your entertainment. From what I've seen with these retro devices and from personal experience, these alternatives help people save money when it comes to retro gaming. Of course, you can always go the route of collecting older games and consoles physically, but let's be honest, unless you have the time, space, and money, using these devices work just as well if you just want to experience some nostalgia or some new experiences from the past. Just make sure that you have legal copies of the games so, the ninjas don't come after you or they don't come after me. Got it? Good. This video went on much longer than I expected, but I do want you to keep in mind that people have bought these devices not just for attention. I feel like anyone who has a Thor generally has played on it for more than what they let on social media. In my case, I own two retroid handhelds, one for more low-end games and one for more high-end games, including PC emulation. And so far, I've been having a blast with them, and I have finished 3 games in the last 3 weeks because of it. Those being Sonic Unleashed for the Wii, Burning Rangers on the Sega Saturn, and Chrono Trigger for the SNES. That's right, your boy's been getting into some retro gaming. How I was able to overcome choice paralysis with these 2 devices was that I chose 5 games that I would play in the span of a month between all of the game consoles that I own, and I would pick a game from at least one of each to complete within the span of a month. And so far, this system has helped me be a lot more consistent when it comes to showing up playing these games, and I cannot be happier with how much fun I have been having recently. I plan to play more and finish the last 2 games before August is over, but the Sonic Crossroads Legends Cup is underway and I have to get on that for the week. Actually, never mind. Y'all can deal with the monster trucks. I'm gonna sit this one out. Ultimately, there are so many ways that people can enjoy games, can enjoy messing around with hardware that they own. It's all up to you on what you want to do and how you want to play. Play your way, have fun while doing it, and I hope you enjoyed this different kind of video. It is very experimental and barely Sonic related, so let me know your thoughts in the comments on what you think and also ways to help me improve. Hope to see you all in the next video, so stay safe, take care, and happy gaming.